Live from Lookout Mountain, 8's the place for breaking news starting now.
We are here today to announce the first confirmed positive case of COVID-19 in the state of Oklahoma. We have effectively identified our first positive case as a Tulsa County resident.
The governor just making that announcement about one case of coronavirus in Tulsa. Now we're wondering what comes next. Governor says that man is now being quarantined at home. He's also trying to calm people by saying there's no evidence of community spread. He also said the risk to the public is low. So far, this is the only case in the state.
We now know the man with coronavirus is in his 50s. He recently traveled to Italy, traveled back into Tulsa through Tulsa International Airport. He is quarantined at home right now. Channel 8's Burt Mumolo is live now after getting answers for you, asking both the governor and Mayor Bynum what comes next. Burt.
Neely, we're here with Dr. Bruce Dart, director of the Tulsa Health Department. Walk us through when the gentleman came back from Italy and the timeline that we're looking at.
So this individual came back from Italy on February 23rd, had absolutely no symptoms at that time, actually started to show symptoms on February 29th, and the state health department was notified, we were notified, and all the activity kicked in from that point on.
Now, he's self-quarantined.
Yes.
That's sufficient? I mean, you feel that's safe?
At this juncture, but with these types of cases, we do what we call contact tracing to look back to see if there might have been any possible risk of exposure anyplace else. So we're in the middle of that right now.
So, so for those 6 days that he was back and didn't show signs of symptoms, are you trying to trace where he went, who
Absolutely.
he was in contact with?
Yes, because we want. The important thing about this case is that it's not community acquired, that this individual actually was overseas in one of the countries we know has a huge penetration of COVID-19 cases. But still, we want to walk back from the point when they were not symptomatic to when they started to be symptomatic to find out where they were, and then use that information to make decisions, go from there.
How's his condition right now?
Our staff talked to him this morning. He's actually feeling better, so we're very happy about that.
We understand that some of his family members, 4 family members, they're being tested as well?
We're keeping the family under observation. We're making decisions to test them, and now that we have public health laboratory, when we do, we'll get results fairly rapidly. So,
are any of them children, and are you concerned that they may have made contact with their classmates?
So this family's been great. I really want to commend this family for how they've handled all of this. Once Dad became symptomatic, the family went into self-quarantine and isolation. Hasn't been anybody in school. So, which we really appreciate, and once again commend them for doing that.
And as far as his occupation, you mentioned that he worked at home, so that's a bit of relief there.
Yes, it is, because we have jobs. We're out in the community doing our job all day long, and this individual works remotely. So, from a case perspective, that's good news for both him and us in the community.
If other folks think they may have it, you were saying don't go to the emergency room because you don't want to flood that building.
Absolutely. And it's really important. We're telling people to call your primary care physician, call the Tulsa Health Department. If you think you might have a risk for exposure to COVID-19, we have a short series of questions that we or your healthcare physician will ask you to determine if you truly have an exposure. If you do have an exposure, then the health department will arrange with a physician to get testing done for that individual.
And again, right now, at what level would you assess the risk of there being potentially more cases because of this case?
So this case, as I said, was not community acquired, so the risk is low. Until we start to see community acquired cases, the risk will remain low. Once we start to see cases that were acquired here in the community, that risk will elevate as well.
Doctor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are great.
Thanks. Neely?
Speaking a little bit about testing, can you elaborate on the capabilities, how many tests they can conduct and how quickly they can get results?
Health officials said that they have the state lab up and running, which is new, that they'll be able to do upwards of 300 tests a day. So those tests are not done here actually locally at the hospitals, but they send them to the state health department where they're tested there. Guys?
All right, Burt, thank you.
Once again, the governor said there is only one confirmed case here in Tulsa. This is what we now know about the man with coronavirus. He's in his 50s. He recently traveled to Italy. He traveled back into Tulsa through Tulsa International Airport and is self-quarantined at home right now. His family's also being tested. Governor Stitt had this to say to try and calm residents.
At this time, there is no evidence of community spread, and the risk to the general public remains low.
So far, Mayor G.T. Bynum says this will not affect the airport. He also had this to say for anyone who might be sick.
If we are sick, we should stay home. Don't try to tough it out and go to work and make everyone else sick. Stay home.
And more breaking news, the city of Austin is canceling South by Southwest. The mayor there has now issued a local disaster declaration over coronavirus concerns. This comes after several companies pulled out of the festival. Tulsa was planning to send even more creative professionals to that festival this year.
Right now, President Trump's touring the CDC headquarters in Atlanta. The White House says he previously canceled that visit because of suspected coronavirus in the city, but it turned out to be a negative case, so the visit was rescheduled. The president has signed a more than $8 billion spending package to battle the rapid spread of coronavirus. Now, we know you have concerns and questions, and we want to keep you armed with information, so we have created this special section for you. It's at KTUL.com. It's easy to navigate. You'll find the latest information about everything happening. It's under the news tab. You can also reach out to us with any questions you may have, and we'll do our best to get them answered for you.
What started as a domestic violence call ends in a deadly shooting involving Tulsa police officers. It all happened in a matter of minutes. The man identified as Jerry Goggins. Channel 8's Amy Jensen tells us what happened just before shots were fired.
The call to 911 came in at 2:22 this morning.
Domestic violence in progress.
By 2:28, Tulsa police officers were at the Waterstone Apartments near 61st and Peoria.
Officers got on the radio asking for emergency radio traffic, saying that he has a knife and he's refusing to drop it.
Moments later, Lieutenant Richard Muhlenberg says 2 officers and an armed security guard fired. The suspect, Jerry Goggins. Police say they've had a few run-ins with him in the past.
The suspect was struck a couple of times. I don't have the exact number right now.
Medics took Goggins to the hospital, where he later died. The sun was just coming up when investigators finally cleared the scene at these apartments. But this investigation is just ramping up, including specific details on what made those officers fire their weapons.
The officers felt as though their life or someone else's life was in danger.
It's a feeling neighbors nearby have felt before.
We try not to walk out towards that area too much because of the history that they have there.
Betty Walker has lived behind the complex for 14 years. She says she's doing what she can to make this area a little safer.
There's a patrol that goes around several times a day, and neighbors look out for one another.
Walker hopes with more eyes on the neighborhood, deadly shootings and other crime will go down. Reporting in Tulsa, Amy Jensen, Tulsa's Channel 8.
Tonight, both officers are on administrative leave and the security guard was interviewed. All 3 had to turn over their weapons pending this investigation.
A judge sentences a Broken Arrow man to life in prison for killing his girlfriend. Family of Lauren Kidd sat in the courtroom and watched as Connor Bruner learned his fate.
Channel 8's Stephen Seeley is live outside the Tulsa County Courthouse tonight after speaking with the family. Stephen.
Now, once the sentencing was over, Kidd's father, Joe, tells me that he was at a loss for words. Now, justice was served, but they said that once that they heard what the sentencing was, that they would never be able to get closure. Connor Brunner will go to prison for life. This is after the jury said he was guilty for killing Lauren Kidd and dumping her body in a recycling bin back in November 2018. Today, Kidd's family was present as the judge took the jury's recommendation for life.
Nobody wins when you shoot somebody. You don't win. You shot them, they're dead, but you didn't win.
Lauren's mother, Krista Kidd, believes the judge made the right decision.
I think justice was served. The electric chair's off the table, so this is the most that we can get, I think, is good.
Heartbroken, the family watched as Brunner received his sentencing, but not before the family could speak about what this has done to them, especially when talking about Lauren Kidd's daughter.
Addison's now almost 5 years old. This month, she's starting soccer. She's in first or kindergarten, you know, and having to do those things without her mother.
A fantastic job of running down every electronic, every physical lead that he possibly had that eventually allowed us to find some of the remains of Lauren to at least recover that bit of her to give to the family.
The family tells me that no matter what, this will leave a hole in their hearts forever.
There won't be any closure. We don't have a body to bury, and you know, you have a memorial, but there's not that gravesite per se that you can have.
Now, Brunner will be held in county jail for 10 days before he's transferred. Live outside the Tulsa County Courthouse, Stephen Seeley, Tulsa Channel 8.
From the Oklahoma Ford Storm Center, your first warning forecast, certified as Tulsa's most accurate weather.
0 complaints about today. Unlike yesterday, we did not have 30-mile-an-hour winds. A lot of sunshine today, and the temperatures were very nice. In fact, it's a beautiful evening. Our temperatures fall into 61. Northeast winds now only at 8 miles per hour. It's warmer up in Claremore at 64 and cooler in Bartlesville, where it's 59 degrees. For this evening, the winds will be fairly light, generally northeasterly, but they'll turn more easterly later. And then for tomorrow, a south wind. Unfortunately, the winds will pick up quite a bit as we get into Saturday and Sunday, increasing our fire danger. Going to be out and about for tonight. By 9 o'clock, 49. By 11 o'clock, 43. And coming up the weather, tracking that next weather maker when it gets here, possibility for some thunderstorms. We'll talk about when it arrives coming up.
All right, Dan, thank you. With the threat of spreading germs, you may not even realize just how many things you can come into contact with every day.
We're looking at what the average person does daily and what all you might touch when you travel.
President Trump visited parts of Tennessee devastated by tornadoes this week. We'll tell you what he's promised the survivors.